recording this as well so that everybody can see this. So here in our announcement, so first off, obviously we're doing the review session right now, but here are the 2 time slots. One's at 10 o'clock in the morning, one's at 6:30. And then guys, here's the link for the sign-in sheet. So if you click on this link here, it's gonna open up a spreadsheet in Google Spreadsheets, and all you gotta do is just put your name under which time slot that you wanna do, which time works better for you, the 10 a.m. or the 6:30 p.m. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is here's the formula sheet for test number 2. So to access it, you're just going to click on those 3 dots and you'll download the original file. And that's going to give you the formula sheet. And then I also have the statistical tables. So if you were using the tables and doing the homework from chapter 5 and you want to have access to those tables, they're right here. One thing I do want to mention is when you're doing, those of you who've been already working on the review, let's see, give me one quick second. When you're doing the review, any problem that has the tables will be there. You'll be able to click on it and they'll open up for you. And it's going to work the same way on the test. So guys, the one thing I want to mention about the test is, let's see, right here guys, it says the test has 15 questions taken directly from the review. So I know our review has 33 questions. What I did is I took 15 out of those 33. So I'm trying to make this as direct as possible. I'm trying to make it as, no surprises, so that if you've done the review, every question you're going to see tomorrow when you take the test, whether you do it at 10 in the morning, whether you do it at 6:30 in the evening, every question on that test came directly out of the review, okay? The only thing that ever changes are just the numbers. All right, so now that I've kind of showed you that, what I'm gonna do is I am going to pull up the review, and then what we can do, guys, is we can answer questions you guys might have out of the review. So let me stop sharing this part here. And let me get to the review. Find it real quick. Here we go. Excuse me. And put this on OneNote. Here. Okay, so guys, I'm going to share my screen with you all so y'all can see this. And I'm just going to grab one more file. And here we go. All righty. So I'm glad that you guys are here. And okay, so guys, what I have here, this is the review. All I did is I went to my lab and I just printed it out, and I'm just opening it up in OneNote so that I can write on my screen. And so the idea of what I wanted to do this evening or this afternoon was just answer any questions you guys might have out of the review. So if there's any particular problems that you want me to go over, if there's anything that you had a question on, please let me know. And my objective today is to answer any questions you guys might have. So if anybody has any question, you can just turn on your mic and say, sir, can you do this one? Or you can put it in the chat box, whatever you want. I'm not going to make any rules about it, and then and I'll answer any questions you guys might have. So anyone got any questions?
Sir.
Tell me, Erica.
For number two, the apostrophe in the E, does it mean something?
Yes. So let's take a look at number 2, and let's see if we can figure out number 2, guys. Okay. So, all right. So I'm glad that you asked this question. And actually, guys, what I'm going to do both number 1 and number 2, because I think if I do number 1 and then when I explain number 2, it's going to be easier to understand. Okay, so if we take a look at number 1, it says the probability that an event will happen, P of E, is 0.29. So I want to try to relate this to you guys in a way that I think we can all understand and we can all make sense. So tonight, before you go to bed, if it's about 10:20 or so, and you turn on channel 5, you're probably going to see our friend Tim Smith, Timoteo, and he might talk about the chance of rain. And he might say, like, you know what, on Sunday, I'm just going to make this up. I'm just picking Sunday. If you look here, it's 0.29. So guys, as a percent, that would be 29%, right? So if Tim Smith said, you know what, guys, on Sunday, there's a 29% chance that it's going to rain, okay? So the probability of it raining is 29%. Then the question here is saying, well, what's the probability that it's not going to rain? So remember that my total percent always adds up to 100%. So if I take 100 and I subtract 29, I'm going to end up with 71%, or as a decimal, 0.71. So if there's a 29% chance that it is going to rain, then that means that there's a 71% chance that it's not. So now when I get to part 2 and it says the probability that an event will not happen. So this P with the E and the apostrophe, this means that it is not going to happen, okay? So if I think about this particular problem here, 0.88, okay, and I try to understand what this means. So remember, the E with the apostrophe means it's not going to happen. So Tim Smith said, you know what, on Monday, there's an 88% chance that it's not going to rain. What would be the percent chance that it would? Well, we would say, well, let's take 100 and let's minus 88, and we're going to come up with 12. So the probability that it would rain would be 0.12 or 12%. Does that make sense for like understanding the notation and understanding the idea behind problems 1 and 2? Are we good?
Sir,
Yeah? Yes, ma'am.
so we're just subtracting 100, right?
Yeah, because the idea here is, yes, the idea here is, so remember, my probability always has to add up to the number 1. And as a percent, the number 1 is 100, right? And so if I think about it in those terms, that's in essence all I'm doing. I'm just taking my numbers and I'm subtracting 100, okay? All right, so give me one quick second, guys, and then let's see. I want to double check something here for you all. Let's see. You go here, you go here, and okay. All right, good. Let's see. So, any other questions anybody wants to ask me about in terms of any questions from the review? Let's see, I heard something in the chat, so let's take a quick look here. Where are we? Here we go, number 4. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. This is a very good question. I'm glad you're asking this. Okay, so guys, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see a little bit better. All right, so it says a company is conducting a survey to determine how prepared people are for a long-term power outage, natural disaster, or terrorist attack. It says the frequency distribution on the right shows the results. Use the table to answer the following question. And so the question here says, what's the probability that the next person surveyed is very prepared? Okay, so I'm going to take a quick look here, and let me see. Get my pen going. Sometimes my pen freezes, guys, so if you hear a little tap, I'm just hitting my pen. Okay, the first thing I need to do is I need to find the sum of my frequencies, meaning I need to take these numbers right here, y'all, and I got to add them up. Okay, so I'm just going to take my phone, and because I'm just going to add these up. So I'm just using my plain Jane calculator that's on my iPhone. So 266 plus 946 plus 542 plus 316 plus 61. Okay. So when I added all these numbers up, when I just added straight down, the number that I came up with was 2131, okay? And it says, what's the probability that the next person surveyed is very prepared, okay? So I'm gonna look and say, which ones are very prepared? Well, the very prepared people were that 266. So I'm just gonna take 266 and I'm gonna divide it by 2131. And then I'm just going to use my calculator, 266 divided by 2131. And it's asking me to round it to 3 decimal places. So guys, on my calculator, I came up with 0.1248. So to round it to 3 decimal places, I'm going to have to put 0.125. Okay. So I got it right there. There's my 0.125. And I got that one done. So does that, I'm glad you all asked me that question. I think it's a really, really great problem. So let's see. And what I like about this particular problem, guys, is that, let me show you something here. I told you all that when I'm making the test, the test questions came directly out of the review, right? So I'm going to make this up. I'm not certain if this is a problem on your test or if it isn't, right? But what I'm saying is, if it is, one of two things would happen. Either these numbers here would change, right? So that might be one thing. Or the other thing is those numbers might stay the same, but instead of very prepared, it might say something like, suppose, or what's the probability that the next person surveyed is not sure? And then you would say, well, 61 out of 2131, right? So the idea is, it's not so important to me what the numbers are. It's more important to me, like, do I understand the idea? Do I understand what it is they're asking me to do? Okay. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. And any other questions here, guys? That was number 4. So I'm glad you asked it because I think that was a very good question. Any other questions anybody wants to ask about anything? Don't be shy. Pregúntame, por favor.
Sir, can you go to number
I'm sorry, which one? Which one?
number 7?
Number 7, definitely. So Erica, I am going to get to 20. I just want to kind of go in order, guys. So I know that 20 is on the list. So I want to do questions before I get to number 20. So I heard number 7. So let me scroll down here to number 7. Again, very good question. I'm glad you asked it. And it says, the environmental agency is analyzing water samples from 75 lakes for pollution. 5 of the lakes have dangerously high levels of dioxin. 6 of the lakes are randomly selected from the sample. Using technology, how many ways could 1 polluted lake and 5 non-polluted lakes be chosen? Okay, so let's take a look here. So first thing I know is we have a total of 75 lakes. So my total is 75, okay? And it says that 5 of the lakes are dangerously high levels of dioxin. So that out of those 75, I know that 5 of them are polluted. So that tells me that 70 of them are not polluted, right? Okay, now we also know that we're going to choose a total of 6 lakes, right? We're going to choose 6 of them. And it says, using technology, how many ways could 1 polluted lake and 5 non-polluted lakes be chosen? Okay, so we want to choose 1 polluted lake. So guys, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this on my calculator. So my calculator, I'm going to put the number 5, and then I'm going to use my combination button, and I'm going to walk you all through the process so that you can see how it's going to work. So out of those 5, I want to choose 1 of them being polluted. And then out of the 70 that are not polluted, I'm going to choose 5 of those. Okay. So guys, before I go on, the one thing I want to emphasize, if I take this number here and this number here and add them together, that gives me the 75. And if I take this number here and this number here and add those together, that's going to give me the 6. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that I can show you on my calculator how I'm going to do this. So let me stop sharing that part. And, oops, wrong button. And let's do this. Okay, application screen, and here we go. And so I believe my calculator is gonna, there it is, it's popping up for you guys. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do, turn it on. Now guys, the one thing I want to emphasize is that whether I'm using a calculator like this, like you might have one from high school, or whether I'm using that calculator app, the Graph and Calc 83. Now guys, remember, you can download that app. It's free on both your like Apple products like an iPhone or an iPad, and it's also free on the Google Play Store if you're going to use Android or something like that. But the process and the way I'm going to enter my numbers here on this calculator work exactly the same way as they do on that app. Okay, so let me clear my screen. So the first thing I said is I'm going to put parentheses, and I have to type in the number 5, and then I'm going to go over here where I have my math button, and I'm going to hit my PRB. So what I did is I did one arrow to the left so I can get there. If I was here and I wanted to get there, I can go 1 to the left, or I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. And then I want to get to that NCR, which is my 3rd one. So I'm going to scroll down. And we said we're going to put the number 1. I'm going to close that off, and I'm going to put it times. I'm going to do parentheses again. I'm going to type in 70, math. I want to get to that PRB part, so I'm going to do my left arrow once. I'm going to scroll down till I hit my NCR. I'm going to hit enter, and we're going to choose 5. And let's see, I'm going to hit enter again. And so here's my answer. So I'm coming up with 605. I'm going to write this down so that I can put it on my review when we're doing it. Let me just write this down real quick. Like, let's see, 605. That pen is out of ink. Sorry guys, let me get another pen here. Control my pages. Here we go. 605, 150, Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to come back to my notes, my review. And so right here, there we go. 605. 157. Boom. And there's my answer. So I hope that one helps. I hope that made sense how we're able to do that. Any other questions, guys, before I get to number 20? I'm sorry, I know Erica had number 20, but again, I want to kind of go in order so that I'm not jumping around all over the place. So if you got any other questions, y'all, please let me know. This is the whole point of this evening, is to do this.
Number 8?
Number 8, definitely. Let's do number 8. Great. I'm glad you asked this question, because this question is similar to number 7, but a little bit different, but it's very important as well. So I want to emphasize, guys, a big part of like 7 and 8, a big part of it is the calculator work. So again, I want to walk you all through the process and how I'm going to do this. Okay, so we know we have a total of 10 microwave ovens, and out of those 10, 3 are defective. So I'm going to set this up just like I did before. I have a total of 10. So 3 of them are defective, which means 7 of them are not defective. Okay. Now it tells me the restaurant's going to buy 4 of them. And it says, what's the probability that the restaurant buys at least 3 non-defective units? Okay. So because this is a probability problem, my answer is going to come out to, you can actually see it right here. Here's my answer. I'd already done this problem. It might have been for my other stats class, guys, but I want to walk you through how I'm going to set this up. So when I set a problem like this up, guys, with this kind of probability, I usually do my denominator first. So remember, we have 10 and we're going to buy 4. So my denominator is going to look like this. can choose 4. Okay. Now, remember, we're going to buy at least 3 non-defective units. So what does that mean? That means that 3 of them could be not defective and 1 of them is, or all 4 of them are not defective. Okay. So when I'm going to do that part here, let's see. Remember, 7 of them are not defective. So I'm going to go 7, and I'm going to choose 3 of them. And then out of the defective units, I'm going to choose 1. Or out of those 7 that are not defective, I could choose 4 of them, all of them not being defective. And out of the 3 defective, we're not going to choose any. Okay. Now, when I do this on my calculator, this is how I'm going to write this part in. So before I go on, I want to emphasize a couple of things. The bottom part says we had 10, we were going to buy 4. That's why I put that on the bottom. The top part says we want to have at least 3 of them being not defective. Well, if I'm going to buy a total of 4 of them and 3 of them are not defective, that means, and at least 3, I'm sorry, that means that 3 of them would not be defective and 1 of them would, or all 4 of them are not defective and none of them are defective, right? So again, guys, this is exactly how I'm going to enter this in on my calculator. So I want you to notice I have 1 set of parentheses over the entire numerator, okay? So I'm hoping you're writing this down, but I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do this on my calculator, y'all. So let me stop sharing this and let me come back to my calculator. What is it? Here we go. And here's my calculator. And turn it on. And let's see, let me clear my screen out. Okay, so I said the first thing I was going to do is I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses. And I was going to go 7, math, PRB. I'm going to choose 3 of them. Okay, and then I had another set of parentheses because I'm multiplying. 3, math, PRB. And I'm going to choose 1 of those. Okay. And then we had a plus and parentheses again, and we had 7, math, PRB. We were going to choose 4 of those. And then we had another set of parentheses, and we had 3, math, PRB. And we were going to choose none of those. And I had to put my double parentheses there. And then I was dividing this, and I had the bottom part in parentheses too, as 10, math, and then PRB. And we said we were going to choose 4 of those and close out my parentheses. And when I hit enter, I should be coming up with that 0.667 or whatever it happened to be. And if you notice, I'm getting 0.66, a whole bunch of 6s, but the directions told me to round to 3 decimal places, right? So again, guys, you want to be real careful with your parentheses. You know, if you misplace them or you don't put them in the right spots, you can get a completely different answer. So you want to be real careful with that part there. So let me stop sharing this part here, and let's come back to the, let's see, where are we? Right here, the review guide. And so if you notice right over here, guys, I think you guys can see this now. Yeah. Right here, I put that 0.667 because it was telling me to round it to 3 decimal places, right? So excellent question. Very good. Any other questions anybody wants to ask me about anything here from the review? I know, and Erica, don't worry, I'm not going to forget number 20. I'm definitely going to get to that one. Anything before I hit number 20?
Number 12.
Number 12. Let's take a look at number 12. Okay. So let's take a look here, guys. So number 12 says the random variable x represents the number of cars per household in a town of 1,000 households. Find the probability of randomly selecting a household that has less than 2 cars. Okay, so excellent question. Guys, one thing I want to emphasize here is that it told me that this town has 1,000 households, okay? So if it did not tell me that there was only 1,000, then just like we did, I think it was on number 3, what I would have to do is I'd have to add all these numbers up right here, okay? But because it told me that there's a total of 1,000, I already know that when I add them all up, I would get 1,000. But if it didn't tell me that, then I would just add all those numbers up, okay? Now, I want you to look at the problem here, and it says, find the probability of randomly selecting a household that has less than 2 cars. Okay, so we want to know less than 2. Less than 2 would be possibly 1 or no cars. Both of those are going to be less than 2, right? So if I'm looking for the probability that the number of cars, oops, not less than or equal to, but just less than 2 is telling me I need to find the probability of having no cars and the probability of having 1 car. Okay. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do, y'all, is I'm going to add those 2 numbers together. So if I take my calculator again and I say, well, what's 125 plus 428? I'm coming up with 553, but I need to divide that number now by 1,000. So if I take my calculator and I divide 553 by 1,000, I'm coming up with 0.553. And so choice A would be my answer here. So excellent question, very good question. I'm glad you guys asked it. I think it's a great one. Any other questions here anybody has before I get to number 20? Let's see, I heard something in the chat. Let's take a quick look. Number 15, definitely. We can definitely do number 15. So I'm going to scroll down un poquito. Here we go. Okay. So, guys, number 15 here says, basketball player Chauncey Billups of the Detroit Pistons makes free throw shots 88% of the time. Find the probability that he misses the first shot and makes the second. Excellent. Okay, so guys, one thing I told you is that, remember, you can use your formula sheet. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually going to pull up the formula sheet because I want to show you how do I know if my probability question is going to be a binomial, or it's going to be a geometric, or it's going to be a Poisson, okay? So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to pull up the formula sheet so that we can see that. Here we go. And yes, okay, you guys can see it here. So guys, here's my formula sheet. Okay, and how do I know whether the probability is binomial, Poisson, or geometric? Okay, so the problem said that this basketball player makes free throws 88% of the time. And it said, what's the probability that he misses the first one, but he makes the second? Okay, so when I look at these problems here, and I'm going to kind of outline each of these here. So the binomial says the probability of having exactly X successes and N trials. So it's similar, this problem here is similar to binomial, but binomial would say he's going to shoot it twice. What's the probability that he gets it exactly 1 time? And that's not what it's really saying. It's saying he has to miss the first one and he has to get it right on the second, okay? And so because he's going to get it right on the second, his first free throw shot is going to occur on the second trial, okay? And so here's my formula right here, guys, for my geometric distribution. So this is the formula right here that I'm going to use for this particular problem, okay? So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and come back to my review. And let me walk you through this here. Okay. So in doing this problem here, there's 2 things that I need to know. I need to know the value of P, and I need to know the value of Q. And P is the probability that he's going to make his free throw shot. Since he makes it 88% of the time, as a decimal, that's going to be 0.88. Now Q is, well, what happens if he misses it? So guys, this is just like when we did those first 2 problems today. if Tim Smith says, hey, there's an 88% chance that it's going to rain, what percent chance would we have that it's not going to rain? And we would say 0.12, right? Okay, now the formula that we have was P of X was equal to P times Q to the power X minus 1. Let me make sure I'm telling you the formula correctly. Yes. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write this out, and we want to make sure that he makes it on the second. So he's going to make it on the second shot. So my P value, I'm just going to write it like this, 0.88. My Q value is a 0.12 to the power Q minus 1, right? Because that's what I got right here. So guys, I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do this on my calculator. And I'll tell you what, before I get to my calculator, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this 2 minus 1 inside my parentheses, okay? Inside my parentheses. So let me stop sharing this and let me come back to my calculator. What is it? It is right here. Okay, so I'm turning it on. I'm just going to clear my screen. So I said, look, parentheses 0.88, right? And then parentheses 0.12 to the power of, here's my exponent, and we said 2 minus 1. So guys, when I would probably do something like this, I would probably put parentheses again and go 2 minus 1 like this, and close that off, and then close it off again, okay? Now, I know that you can subtract, 2 minus 1, and you can just put 1 if you want to, but the reason I'm doing it this way is, I just want you to understand that it's whatever your power is, you got to subtract 1 from it, okay? And I'll hit enter, and the number I'm coming up with is 0.1056. So let me stop sharing this, and then let me come back to my problem, and it's right here, and we said 0.1056, and so there is my answer, okay? So let's see. Any other questions anyone has about anything here from the review? Did anybody wants to ask at all before I get to number 20? That was number 15.
16.
16. Let's do number 16. Excellent. All right. So guys, number 16 says a statistics professor finds that when he schedules an office hour at the 10:30 a.m. slot, an average of 3 students arrive. Okay, use the Poisson distribution to find the probability that a randomly selected office hour in the 10:30 a.m. slot, exactly 1 student will arrive. Okay, so what I like about this problem, guys, it tells me directly we're going to use the Poisson distribution. So I'm going to share the formula sheet with you guys one more time so that you can see what it is I'm trying to refer to. Here we go. Formula sheet. Here we go. Okay, so here is my formula sheet or the formula for my Poisson distribution. So guys, typically, and you'll know this from the videos as well, but typically when I was doing these kind of problems, I was using my calculator because I would use something like this here. And so this one here says the Poisson PDF, and it has 2 values, mu and x, okay? So that's exactly how I'm going to do this problem. So let me stop sharing this, and then let me come back to the review and show you how I'm going to do our problem. Okay, so there's 2 things that we have here. We have our mu, and we have our x. So guys, remember, mu stands for my average, or my mean. So this problem here tells me that we have an average of 3 students. So that tells me that my mu is going to be equal to 3. And then, excuse me, we're trying to find the probability that exactly 1 student is going to arrive. So my x is going to be 1. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do this, guys, on my calculator, because this is really a big part of this is the, oops, I forgot the letter D, F, and we're going to have 2 values, mu and x, okay? So again, I'm going to go Poisson PDF, My mu is the number 3, and my x is the number 1. Now, guys, the way I'm going to do this on my calculator is I'm going to go second and then vars. Okay, so let me stop sharing this and come back to our calculator. Excuse me. All right, so let me clear this here for us, and I'm going to go second, and then I'm going to go to vars right here next to the clear button, and I'm going to start scrolling down. And the one that I'm looking for is the Poisson PDF. Here it is. So I'm going to hit enter, and we said we're going to put 2 numbers. The first one was 3, comma, the second one was 1. We're going to close that off, and the number that I'm coming up with is 0.14936. Usually these problems ask me to go to 4 decimal places. Sometimes it tells me 3. If it tells me 4, I'm going to go 0.1494. Okay. So let me stop sharing this. Come back here. Excuse me. And 0.194. And there's my number 16. So are these problems making sense? Are they helping, guys, as we're going through these together? Are you guys feeling a little bit better about this?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Okay, guys, give me one quick second. I'm just going to get a little bit more water, and then and so think about the next question you want to ask me, and when I come back, we'll do it. I'm just going to grab some water real quick. All right, so I'm back. I've got my H2O. Any other questions anybody wants to ask me about before I get to number 20? Okay, so let's take a look here, guys. Let's take a look at number 20. It's 19. Okay, so here's number 20. Now, guys, I'm going to show you all how I'm going to do number 20. I'm going to show you 2 ways. The first way I'm going to show you guys is using these tables. So if you notice on 19, and this is probably 18, yes. Okay, so for 18, 19, 20, maybe even further down, these problems already give me the table, okay? So when I was showing you earlier that, you can access the table in the last announcement, you definitely can if you want to, but the same exact table is going to pop up right here. Okay, so first way I'm going to show you of doing this is by using the table, and then the second way I'll show you about it is doing the calculator, and then you get to decide which way you prefer, okay? Now, guys, when I'm using the table, actually when I'm using the calculator, I'm in, but when I'm using the table is always going to tell me the area to the left, okay? So I'm actually, in this particular problem, we're trying to find the area here in between, okay? So if I was going to do this using my table, the first thing I would do is I said, look, I'm going to find, and I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to use my red marker here. I'm going to find, when I use my table, what value would I get here? If I go to that negative 1.6, that would actually tell me this area right over here, okay? So since it's a negative 1.6, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. Okay, here's negative 1.6, but you can see there's a bunch of numbers there, right? So guys, if there's no number at the end of this, it's really 1.60. So 1.60 would be find where these two kind of meet up. Oops. Kind of meet up. There we go. And so that would give me 0.0548. okay? So that would tell me that the area in the red is 0.0548. Now, if I were to use my table and come to 1.5, remember, since there's nothing behind it, the number here is 0. So I need to go to a positive 1.5, okay? So if you notice here, these are all negative. Here's my positives, okay? So here's my 1.5. I need it to be 1.50. Guys, I want you to notice that over here is a 9, so I don't want that. I want this one. And that value would be 0.9332, okay? So what that would tell me is that this area here in the green, now notice what I've shaded. I've shaded everything, is 0.9332. Now, if I'm really only looking to find this part, what I would have to do is I'd have to say, let me take 0.9332 and let me subtract 0.0548 because I'm looking for the area in the middle, right? So if I were to take my calculator, so I'm going to do it right here, 0.9332 minus 0.0548. I'm coming up with, and it tells me go to 4 decimal places. I'm coming up with 0.8784, okay? And that's how I would do it using my table, if that's what I wanted to do. Now, suppose you say, I don't want to use the table. I want to use my calculator. How would I do it? Okay, I'm going to show you right now. Okay, on my calculator, I have a feature that I can use. And the way I'm going to get there is I'm going to go second, and then bars, and I'm going to use something called the normal CDF, okay? Got to make sure you're using the one with the letter C, okay? Now, guys, when I have this here, I'm going to put 2 numbers here. One of them is going to be my lower number, and the other one here is going to be my upper number. So when I zoom in here, right, what do I mean by my lower number? Well, look what I'm trying to find. We're trying to find the area in the middle, right? We're trying to find the area between each of these 2 values. That's my lower number. This is my upper number, right? Because I'm looking for that area in the middle. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this on my calculator. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to come back to my calculator. It is right here. Okay, and so I'm going to turn it back on again. Let me clear my screen. So I told you guys before I'm going to go second, and then bars, and I want to find the normal CDF. Notice that's my second one, right? Okay, I'm going to have 2 numbers, my lower number and my upper. My lower was a negative 1.6, comma, my upper was a 1.5. Close it off. I'm going to hit enter. And if you notice, guys, if I were to write this out to 4 decimal places, right, I would end up with 0.8784. And if I stop sharing this and I come back to my review, you said 0.8784. And if you notice, oops, that's the same thing we got when we used our table. So when you're doing problems like this, guys, like 18, 19, 20, maybe even some of the other ones, you get to decide, do I want to use my calculator or do I want to use my table? And it's not going to make any difference because you're going to get the same answer either way, right? And you just, excuse me, you just get to decide which way you feel is easier for you or which way you feel is more understandable. So guys, before COVID hit, in the fall of 2019, almost 2 years ago, I was teaching this class and it was in the evening. It was a 7 p.m. To 9:50 at night. So it was 3 hours, almost 3 hours twice a week. And because it was late in the evening, I had a lot of older students like my age, right, in their 30s and their 40s, and excuse me, and a lot of them were more comfortable with using the table than they were using the calculator. But the younger students that I had, most of them were more comfortable using the calculator. So really it was just, which way did you like better? And you're always going to end up with the same answer, okay? So excellent question. I'm glad, Erica, you asked me number 20. Let's see. Any other questions anybody wants to ask me about before I keep moving? Number 24. So let's take a look at number 24. Let me keep scrolling over here. Let's see. 22, 23, and here we go, 24. Okay, so very good question. And it says, assume the random variable x is normally distributed with a mean of 82 and a standard deviation of 4. Find the indicated probability. Okay, so guys, I'm going to share my formula sheet with you guys one more time because I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this part. And a big part of it is looking at that formula sheet. Okay, so here's my formula sheet right here. I think you guys can see it. Yes. Okay, so the way what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the idea of converting my x values to z-scores. And the way I'm going to do that is by using this formula right here, z equals that x minus mu over sigma, okay? So let me stop sharing this, and then let me come back to my review. Okay, so we said the formula was z equals x minus mu over sigma, okay? Here's my mu, here's my 4, here is my x, okay? So guys, first thing I'm going to do this part in parentheses. My x number was 76. Minus my mu is the number 82, and my standard deviation is 4. So guys, I'm showing you this part here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this part on my calculator. I know you all know how to do it, but I want to show you that it's real important that I use my parentheses when I do this. So let me clear this out. And I said we had something like 76 minus 82. Close that off. We're going to divide this by 4. Okay, and I'm coming up with a negative 1.5. So let's come back to the review. All right. And so we came up with a negative 1.5. So in essence, guys, what we're doing here is we're converting this x value to a z-score. So instead of me finding the probability that x is smaller than 76, we're converting that to finding the probability that z is less than negative 1.5. Now, the idea here, y'all, is I'm using my standard normal distribution. So it's the curve that kind of looks like this, right? And with the curve, looks like this. In the standard normal distribution, my average is 0. And then we have 1, 2, 3 deviations to the right, and 1, 2, 3 deviations to the left, okay? So the number that's really important here is this negative 1.5. So negative 1.5 is going to be right here between negative 2 and negative 1. Now, the other part that's really important is looking at the arrow, looking at the direction of my inequality sign. It's pointing to the left. So this is telling me, hey, you know what I want to do? I'm interested in finding the area under the curve to the left of that number, okay? So again, guys, I can use my calculator. This is what we're going to do. We can use our calculator or we can use the table, okay? So I'm going to show you on the calculator. The way I'm going to do this, second bars, and I'm going to come back here, normal, CDF. Now remember, we're going to have two numbers. We're going to have the lower number, and we're going to have the upper number. So usually we talk about an x-axis, but because we're using the variable z, this is going to be like my z-axis. And if I keep moving, so look, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, I'd keep going on, right? The idea is if I keep going to the left, I would hit the idea of negative infinity. And if I have 1, 2, and 3 here, 4, 5, 6, with so on, and would kind of follow after that. So the right, I would have the idea of positive infinity. So I'm going to use my lower bound and my upper bound. Since I'm finding the area all the way to the left, I would be using the concept of negative infinity, but I can't actually write down that as a number. So I'm going to say, why don't I use something like negative 9999, and then my upper bound, where are we stopping at? We're stopping at that number, negative 1.5, because that was the number that we got here. Okay? And so I'll do this part of my calculator again. So guys, I'm just gonna go second bars, normal CDF, negative 9999, and then negative 1.5. So if I do that on my calculator, so you always can see it, here we go. And I go second, and then, oh, excuse me, let me clear this out. If I go second and then bars, and normal CDF, and I go negative and a whole bunch of nines, right? Maybe 4 of them. And then a negative, what do we have, 1.5. And I hit enter, and I'm coming up with, for these problems, guys, I'm always going to go 4 decimal places. So I'm coming up with 0.0668. Okay, so let me stop sharing this. And let's come back over here. And we said we came up with 0.0668, right? And in case you were interested, if you wanted to know, how would I do it using my table? Just a heads up, guys, remember the table always tells me the area to the left. So to the left of what number in this case? To the left of negative 1.5, right? So if I were to come back here, and I'm just kind of trying to scroll so I can find my table, and I say, okay, here's negative 1.5, and remember, I want to go to negative 1.5. If there's not a number at the end of it, it would be 0. So I'm going to find where these two meet up, and if you notice, I'm coming up with the same thing, 0.668, right? Which is exactly the same number that we got when we did number 23 using the table, 0.668. I'm sorry, using the calculator, we came up with the same number, right? So it's really up to you when you're doing this problem, guys. Do you want to use your calculator? Do you want to use your table? You're always going to end up with the same answer, right? The only thing I always tell my students is just remember that the table always tells me the area to the left, right? The area to the left. So excellent question. I think that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Let's see. Any other questions he has out of the review? Number 29, definitely. Guys, before I get to 29, any other questions? Is there anything that I missed before I get to number 29? Going once, going twice. Okay, let's work our way down to number 29. So let's see. Okay, let me scroll down. 728. Here we go. Number 29. Okay. So guys, I'm glad this is an excellent question as well. I'm glad you asked. Now, number 29, we're going backwards. Okay. Number 29 here, we're kind of going backwards. It says use the standard normal table to find the z-score that corresponds to a cumulative area of 0.0045. If the area is not in the table, use the entry closest to the area. And if it's halfway between the two entries, use the z-score halfway between the two corresponding z-scores. Okay, so I'm going to explain what they mean by this problem here. So here's my normal curve, right? The same one that we drew a little while ago. Okay, and all right, so my deviation here, my mean is 0, and then I have 1, 2, 3 deviations to the right, 1, 2, 3 deviations to the left, okay? So they're telling me, remember, the area under the whole curve, guys, the total area, total area is equal to 1 because it's probability, right? And we said our probability has to add up to 1 or 100%. Now they're telling me that we're trying to find a z-score where the area to the left is 0.0045. So if I know the whole area is 1, then the area on this side would be 0.5 and the area on that side would be 0.5, right? And I'm looking at 0.0045, so it's going to be somewhere much smaller than that, okay? So I'm going to have a z-value somewhere over here, so I already know that my z-value is going to have to be negative because the area of that they're giving me is smaller than 0.0045. So first way I'm going to do this, y'all, using my table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hunt through all these numbers and see if I can find 0.0045. So 0.0045, 0.0045, it is right here. Okay. So what's the number that I have? Negative 2.61. So that's how I do it using my table, right? And some people don't mind doing that. Some people say, wow, that's a whole lot of numbers I got to hunt for to find the one that I'm really looking for. So is there another way to do it? Yes, we can use our calculator. So guys, on my calculator, I'm going to go second. I'm going to go vars again. And there's going to be a feature called the inverse norm. What the inverse norm tells you is right here, you're going to enter in that area to the left. It always has to be the area to the left every single time, okay? So let me show you on my calculator how I'm going to do this. Stop sharing this, and I'm going to come back to my calculator, which is right here. And let me turn it on again. Let me clear this out. So again, I'm going to go second, vars, and I'm going to look for my inverse norm. If you notice, it's number 3. And I'm going to hit enter, and we said the area to the left was 0.0045. Close off my parentheses, and I'm going to hit enter. And if you notice, we are coming up with a negative 2.61, which was the same answer that we got when we used our table, right? So again, you have options here, guys. You have different ways of doing the problem, and either way you do it, you're going to get the same exact answer, okay? So excellent questions. Let me stop sharing that part, come back to our review. So this was number 29. Let's see. Does anybody else have it, or anybody have any other questions? That was number 29. Anything else about the review? Even if one we passed, guys, if you guys got a question, don't feel like you can't ask me. If we want to go back and do number 11, we'll go back and do number 11. It's okay. You got time, so don't be shy. Anything? All right. So guys, again, just a quick heads up. Let me stop sharing this part. Let's see. Number 7 again, definitely. I'm happy to go over number 7. So let me come back here. Let's scroll back over here to number 7. You know I'm happy to do it. Let's see. We are almost there. All right. So let me clean up this mess here, guys, because I know there is a lot of it. Go. Okay. All right. So yes, definitely. Let's take a look at number 7. So guys, remember on number 7, on number 7, we have, it says, an environmental agency is analyzing water samples from 75 lakes for pollution. And so out of those 75 lakes, we know that 5 of them are polluted. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here, and this is just me writing stuff that helps myself. I have a total of 75. Excuse me. And out of those 75, I know that 5 of them are polluted, so I have to know that 70 of them are not polluted, right? Because there's a total of 75. So if 5 of them are polluted, the rest of them aren't polluted. Now, second part is we're going to choose 6 lakes that are randomly selected from the sample. So we want to have a total of 6. Using technology, how many ways could one polluted lake, so we want 1 of them from here and 5 from here. So the way I'm going to do that part, guys, is on my calculator, I'm going to go 5, and I'm going to choose 1, and 70, choose 5, right? So again, one thing I'm going to point out, the 5 and the 70 add up to the 75, and the 1 and the 5 add up to the 6 that I'm going to choose total. So I'm going to do this on my calculator, excuse me, and I'll, sorry about that, and I'll walk you through the process and how I'm going to do it again using the calculator, right? So you can see how it works. Now, again, I've said it before, but I want to make sure everybody's good. Whether I'm using this kind of a calculator or whether I'm using my app, it's going to work the same way, okay? So we said we're going to put 5. So I'll put parentheses 5. I'm going to go to math. I'm going to go to PRB. And I'm going to scroll down to number 3. And we want to choose one of those. And then we're going to have 70 math, PRB. And we want to choose 5 from those 70 that are not polluted. And I'm going to hit enter. And so the answer that we came up with was 605,15070. And so when I stop sharing this and we come back to our notes, here we go. So here we say we have 605,15070. Okay. And so that's how I would do number 7. Excellent. I'm glad you asked that one. I want to make sure you guys feel okay about these problems, guys. So if there's any problem that I did not do that you have a question on, or if there's a problem that I did do and you want me to go over it again, please don't hesitate to ask, guys. I want to make sure that you guys feel ready, confetti for tomorrow. Let's see. Yes, definitely. The numbers to the right, definitely. Let me pull that up so you can see it. Here we go. So it's this piece right here. And let's see. Any other questions, guys, or any other problem that you want me to do that I didn't do earlier, or is there any problem that I did and you'd like for me to do it again? Don't be shy. I'm happy to answer anything you guys might have. Anything. Let's see, number 8. No apologies at all. Don't worry about it. This is why I'm here. Okay, so let's take a look at number 8, and I'll walk you through the process again. Let's see. Let me get my eraser. I'm going to clean up number 8 for us here. Okay. All righty. Okay, so guys, number 8 says we have a shipment of 10 microwave ovens, okay, that have 3 defective units. And so again, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write some stuff down that I think is going to help me. I have a total of 10, right? 3 of them are defective. So if 3 of them are defective, that tells me 7 of them are not defective, right? Okay, then the next thing we know is the restaurant's going to buy 4 of them. And it says, what's the probability that the restaurant buys at least 3 non-defective units, okay? So I want you to think about this for a minute, guys. The probability of them buying at least 3 non-defective units, what that really means is that they could have 3 non-defective and 1 defective, or they could have 4 of them that are non-defective and 0 from the defective group, okay? That's really what that means, right? And I'm going to put an or right here, because they can have 3 of them that are not defective and 1 of them is, or all 4 of them are not defective. Okay, since this is a probability problem, guys, I usually find it easier to do my denominator first, okay? So there's 10 microwaves and they're going to buy 4 of them. So my denominator is going to look like this, 10 choose 4. Now my numerator, I'm going to set up the first part of my numerator. If I'm going to have 3 non-defective and 1 defective, those 3 non-defective have to come from the 7 that are not defective. Okay? And the one that's defective has to come from those 3 that are defective. Okay. And then if I'm going to have 4 of them not being defective, then they're going to have to come again from that 7. So 7 choose 4, and no defective would be coming from the 3. Okay. Now, guys, I am going to put an extra set of parentheses here, and this is exactly how I'm going to type it in on my calculator. Okay. So, excuse me. I want you to notice that I already have the answer right here. I must have done this problem already, and so when I printed out my review, it already had the answer because I had done that particular problem myself. So I'm going to walk you through the process of using my calculator. And again, guys, calculator app works exactly the same way. So I want you to notice in the beginning, I have 2 sets of parentheses, okay? So let me stop sharing this, and let me come back to my my calculator, and it is right here. And let's see. Okay, so move this over to the side a little bit so I can see it. Excuse me. Okay. Let me clear my screen. So we said we have 2 parentheses. And then I had 7, math, probability, and I was going to choose 3. Close that off, open up another set, and then 3, math, probability, and I was going to choose 1. Okay. And then I had a plus sign, parentheses again, 7, math, probability, and we were going to choose, this time we were going to choose 4 of them, and then parentheses again, and I had 3 math, probability, and we were going to choose none of those, and then I have 2 sets of parentheses closing everything off, and then divided by, because I have a fraction, and I had parentheses again. And the bottom part was 10 math, probability, and we were going to choose 4 total. Okay, and then I'm going to hit enter, and if you notice, I'm coming up with 0.66, a whole bunch of 6s, and the directions on the problem asked me to round to 3 decimal places, and so that's how we came up with the 0.667. Okay, so let me stop sharing that, and then come back to the we'll call it the review guide, and so that you can see, excuse me, so you can see this piece right here, and again how I sort of wrote it up. And so, guys, again, the idea here, like this particular problem, right? If you have this problem on your test tomorrow, you know, what might be different? Instead of them buying 10 microwaves, maybe they buy 12 microwaves, okay? Or instead of them being 3 defective, maybe 4 defective, right? But the idea is the process is still going to be the same way, right? All you're really doing is just changing the values or changing the numbers. So great, these are great questions. I'm glad you guys are asking them. I really want you all to do really well tomorrow, guys. Any other questions that anybody wants to ask me about anything? Even if it's a question we've already done or another question that I haven't done yet, don't hesitate to ask me because I will answer. Anything? No, you're good, Jasmine, you feel good? Any other questions, guys, about anything that you guys might have? You good? Okay, so guys, just one quick thing. Let me stop sharing this part here because I want to share one last thing with you guys. Let's see, here we go. Content. Let's do this part. And so, yes, okay. So guys, again, just a quick reminder, if you haven't done it yet, I'm going to go to my announcements right here. And let's see, there we go. Okay, and if I click on this one here, so again, guys, the most important thing, make sure you do write your name on the sign-up sheet so that I know when you'll be taking your test. And guys, just a reminder, if you sign up for tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then tomorrow you say, like, you know what, I think I need more time, I want to keep reviewing, and can I change it to 6:30? Yeah, do me a favor, just erase your name on the 10 a.m. spot, put it at the 6:30. And then just send me a little message like, hey, sir, I have my name on the 10, but I'm moving it to 6:30. It's all good, okay? And then your formula sheet will be right here, guys. You click on the little three dots and then click on download original file. And one last time, if you want the tables to use, you can download your file right here for the tables. It's up to you, right? You can use your calculator, you can use your tables. You're going to get the same answer either way. And then the last part, guys, 15 questions directly out of the review, okay? So the review had 33. I took slightly less than half. And those are the questions that I'm asking you. So if you guys don't have any other questions, then we'll go ahead and sign off, and I will see you guys, some of you tomorrow at 10, some of you tomorrow at 6:30. And guys, I did record the session. I'm going to stop recording it now.